Whoa now, everybody. I am your host, Lambo Drew, and you are now tuned in to another edition of the Leverage Show. But everybody knows that these Leverage shows are really amazing because every time this special guest comes on our show, the Leverage Show literally converts from the Leverage Show family to literally Therapy Talks with Tracy Taris. And we love that therapy time, man, with Tracy because she brings such an energy to the show. She brings such wisdom, such excitement, but also so much amazing blessings to us all. And we need that, right? When we want that breakthrough and we need that next level, we look no further than to Tracy Taris. So definitely, man, we want to bring her in. We're going to give her 1 second and bring her right onto the show and definitely allow her to help you guys in your journey to become a better you and a more healthier you. All right, LA Law is in the building. Shout out to you, LA Law. Thank you definitely for tapping in. LA Law is always showing love, showing the team in the building. I truly love and thank you. Appreciate you, LA Law, getting that #1 top spot. Julie Crafton is in the building. Good evening. Great evening, Leverage Show family. Thank you, Julie. I was actually just speaking before the broadcast between you and your husband about Tracy. So I'm really excited. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for all you guys do and are really helping change the game. For those who know, we got some great exciting news. So you guys better be tuned in after this weekend with Team Crafton. Definitely, you want to definitely be excited and tapped in for that. So shout out to you, Julie Crafton, for all that you do. Julie Crafton says, hello, LA Law, showing love. My wonderful wifey is in the building. Shout out to y'all. Hello, family. With the heart sign, she never misses a show, especially when her girl Tracy comes on. She definitely loves Miss Tracy. So truly thankful for my wonderful wife. Definitely for always showing the love and gassing me up because she do that. She get her husband right. You already know what time it is. LA Law showing love to Mrs. Julia and Mrs. Johnson. Good to see you. You already know. My cousin Errol's in the building. Shout out to you, cuz. I see you in the building all the way down in Louisiana, showing love in the boot where me and Miss Tracy are from. You already know what time it is. LA Law showing love to Errol. Good to see you. Julie showing love to my wonderful wife. Julie showing love to Errol. You already know what time it is. Errol showing love to LA Law, Miss Julie, Miss Johnson. Ladies, it's good to see y'all that are here on this hot Tuesday. I know it is hot where y'all are at, but definitely we are thankful. Hopefully everybody is staying cool and catching that heat wave. LA Law showing love to Errol. Shout out to you. It's really hot out here too. I know it is, man. Y'all definitely hot all over. Hey, Julie. Hey, cousin Errol. Hey, LA Law. My wonderful wife is showing love. Shout out to you. There goes my pinky partner, my guy, Jeremy Crafton, man. Shout out to you, Jeremiah, man, for doing what you do best, man. We truly thank you. I told you I was just talking about y'all before the show. So it's definitely good to see you. I love that lean with that suit you got on. Man, you actually rocking it, brother. Keep rocking that suit. My baby says, yes, Errol, on this very hot Tuesday. Oh, my God, it is definitely very hot. LA Law says, Jeremiah, good to see you with the fire emoji. They know the team is in the building. My wonderful wife is saying, hello, Jeremiah, showing love to Team Crafton. You already know. Mighty E is in the building. Hello, everyone. Lambo, I love that shirt. Thank you. It's always shout out to my wonderful wife for getting me right, man. The Goodfella shirt. You guys already know the Godfather. Y'all see the Godfather out there? I had to go ahead and break something special every time Tracy comes onto the broadcast, man. We got to make sure we keep it full live out here because it's definitely going down. Morpheus, the crypto trader, your buddy Unlimited Freedom is in the building. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe to my guy, Unlimited Freedom and Morpheus Crypto Trader in his channel. Subscribe to them both. He is really doing some amazing things and showing you guys how to make passive income. And that's what the name of the game is here. My baby's in the building showing love to Mighty E, man. Shout out to you, LA Law, showing love to Mighty E. So good to see you. LA Law showing love, man, to Unlimited Freedom. Good to see you in the building, Unlimited Freedom. Sean Hill is in the building. What's up, my brother? From another mother, about to do a presentation, but had to dip in. Love you, bro. Man, we love you guys. Thank you, Sean Hill, man, for all that you do. And I'm telling you, just a solid brother and really going ahead and allowing to educate us. If you guys need any credit repair help, the number's on the screen. Please reach out to my guy, Sean Hill, at 214-772-0756. 214-772-0756. He will help get those negative items off your credit and get you back to a healthier credit file where you can go ahead out there and really be able to leverage your credit in the right way. Thank you, Sean Hill, for definitely passing through. Always got to show my guys some love. Truly, 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 you know what time it is. Hello, I've been on vacation with my family. It's good to be back. Hey, definitely it's a great time for everybody to be out here traveling, enjoying vacation, and being out there with your family. I know you know Lambo's been traveling the last few weeks, and a little be right back on the plane in just a little short time from here. I ain't gonna say nothing because you guys will see definitely in the chats and all on social media. But shout out to you. Make sure you have a wonderful time, man. E. Hope you enjoy yourself. Jeremiah Craft is showing love. Hi, L.A. Low. Hi, Mrs. Johnson. I love the energy y'all bring here. Every time Tracy Taris comes to the show, y'all bring this energy to the Leverage Show, and we love it. L.A. Law says, hi, Sean. Good to see you. You already know. My little bro's in the building, Lambo. Hey, good to see you. I love it, love it, love it, Jay, man. You already know what time it is. My guy, Issa, is in the building, man, all the way in Utah. Loving, loving, loving to see my good friend Isidro. You always bring the point. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you guys for all the love you guys have shown, the Facebook love, YouTube family, and everybody else out there in social media. Without further ado, I cannot wait till she comes and blesses this show every single time. And she's back to definitely talk about some great things that's going to help you level up and really encourage yourself in moving forward in your life to become a better you. We welcome back to the show. As always, this is now no longer the Leverage Show. It is Therapy Talks with Miss Tracy Taris. Welcome back to the show, Miss Tracy. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Lambo. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I am well. I'm well. We miss you. The Leverage Show family miss you.
I miss you guys too.
Oh, you don't miss us. You don't even think about it.
It's just been a long spring.
It has been a long spring since the last time we actually had you right back on the show. And we are excited to definitely have you back on the show because you left us on a cliffhanger the last time. And I know that so many people have been waiting to this return for you to actually come back to really be able to go on ahead and bless us with more knowledge and wisdom and everything that you pour into us. So, Tracy, without further ado, I would love, love, love for you to take it away.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for having me as always. Hi, Renata. And tonight we're going to be talking about the relational dynamic of overfunctioning versus underfunctioning. I find that a lot of couples end up entering into this dynamic without even knowing it. And by the time they recognize it, a lot of bitterness and resentment has set in.
You know, and it's something, well, I think that there's so much to say about that too, Tracy, because I don't think that enough couples have the actual voice that they need like you, like they actually have a Tracy Taris to be able to turn to. And fortunate enough, we actually have you on the show that we can uncover some of these problems and some of these underlying issues that are really, really, really causing a lot of us not to really go ahead and walk the right path together, but literally just walking the path and just hoping that things work out. In your profession, when we actually talk about that, I want you to elaborate that just a little bit. Why is that so important, especially in today's age, that couples actually learned to not just live together, but to actually grow with each other together?
Okay. Well, let me start by saying what overfunctioning and underfunctioning is. Like, life takes work. Relationship takes a lot of work. And when you're building a family, the responsibilities and duties of running that family, loving that family, and growing that family, having that family survive takes a lot of work, and it takes at least two people. Like, when the kids are old enough, some of the responsibility can go over to them. But if you're a husband and a wife in a relationship, I think the most successful families are the ones whereby you talk about what the duties will be, who's responsible for what, and then each person showing up and doing their side, cleaning their side of the street, basically. And so what that might look like is having a conversation early on in your relationship about who's responsible for this or that. And it has to be an ongoing conversation, because even if you are responsible for one thing, life happens and you may not be able to do your one thing, right? You may have to ask your partner for help. And so that's where communication comes in. So what overfunctioning is one partner or the other takes most of, if not all of the responsibility, and the other partner does it. And there's lots of different dynamics that play into that.
I think that because one partner takes more responsibility than the other,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that that actually comes from because there's a maturity level with that partner, or maybe an experience that one partner has seen that the other partner maybe not or lacking experience in?
It just depends. Oftentimes, when couples are drawn to each other, opposites attract. Lambo, can you stay on the screen? I don't like looking at myself because I'm just like a talking head. But if you're there, then we're having a conversation.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I love to get them solo shots. But go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like you and I are having a conversation. So there's a lot of different things that feed into that. Oftentimes opposites attract, and you might have one person that's naturally a go-getter and A-type personality, and then there's the other person that's not so much so. And when these two people get together, they really like the go-getter might like the chill, not so stressed out and not so worried side of the person that ends up becoming the underfunctioner. And then the underfunctioner is drawn to the person that's the go-getter, because they complement each other. But what ends up happening is people settle into a rut, and what was at first attractive becomes unattractive, or becomes that one or the other or both starts to resent. Like the overfunctioner starts to resent the underfunctioner because he or she feels like she doesn't have any help, or he's taking on the burden. And then the underfunctioner starts to feel controlled, or like they don't have a voice, and be kind of confused as to where to give input for fear of or concern of not wanting to rock the boat or whatnot.
Well, I love this. I mean, you're giving so much great insight, because I have found out that there has been a lot of people, a lot of couples in relationships that, like you said, it does become unattractive over time, but they have used either that person's, and I want to call it like a laid back type of lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
Or a very passive type of lifestyle to actually build their self esteem or their platform or their ego up to be able to dominate rooms or dominate conversations or
Mhm.
dominate decisions, right? And I've learned that more of the times that, and this is Lambo talking, I've listened to relationships and where one side of the relationship is more dominant than the other side, right? And because of that, they have felt that one person is a more stronger leader in areas than the other person are.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm not getting ready to just submit underneath something that may not have no direction, no sense of direction, no sense of voice, or where we're going. I learned that, and this is for anybody, right? All women would love to be protected, right? Love for you to stand up for them. The last thing you want to do is to have a man who literally is a jellyback who's not standing up for his wife or not standing up for their spouse, right? At that point, like, what's the use? But so many times there has been a one-sided conversation within that relationship because one has decided to take the back seat. And one has decided to say, well, I'm just going to let you talk because you know everything and you do everything so well, to where that man or woman, just depending on what role that they're playing, feels that they are lessened than they are actually having an importance with.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a matter of different personality styles and different temperament styles coming together. And I used to work with this psychiatrist who used to say, everything is about everything. Like whatever it is you're seeing play out in relationships, those two people have kind of built that together, but they built that on whatever it is they're bringing in to the relationship. Like in, as we're talking about over functioning and under functioning, one of the components that you have to look at is all of the different attachment styles. So there's like secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, disorganized attachment, and also anxious avoidant, which is a combination, of the two. So depending on how the person attached in childhood, what we end up doing is bringing those same dynamics into the relationship. So the overfunctioning person may have an anxious attachment style, or a disorganized attachment style. And an anxious attachment style is often afraid of being left, so they do overfunction, they do overcompensate, because even if they are in a relationship that's pretty grounded and pretty secure, because they have an anxious attachment style, they may, in the back of their mind, like subconsciously, think they do have to overcompensate by overworking and overdoing so that the other person doesn't become angry with them, or so that the other person doesn't leave them. And the other person may not even be thinking of any of those things, but the anxious attachment style has learned that if they do, then they can keep a lot of unwanted things at bay. A lot of people that have avoidant attachment style, not all people with a avoided attachment style, but a lot will end up under functioning because they've learned to avoid attachment. Attachment was very painful, or it was non-existent. And because it was non-existent, the grief associated with that and the pain associated with that turned into an avoidant. They don't trust attachment. And even though they may have agreed to marry someone, or even asked that person to marry them, and may have attached somewhat during the dating and the courting process, because that's their default, then they avoid as much as possible. So an avoidant person may not step up to the plate and may not even contribute unless asked, may not even contribute unless, given a directive, because a directive requires communication. Working through it requires emotions and attachments. And a lot of times they're avoiding that, So, and then anxious avoidant, it's the same thing. They may give a little and then avoid, or give a little and then are on you about it, about what they've done. And so the ones that are, if you're fortunate enough to get two people that are securely attached, which is kind of rare, then you're less likely to have overfunctioning and underfunctioning. Sometimes you still have overfunctioning if there is a major event, like something with health or something with finances, something that just kind of throws one another or throws the family system into chaos or for a loop. And then one person ends up picking more of the slack up than the other, if the other has a health issue, or if there's a job issue or financial issue.
I do you think you see a lot of that when they are more over than actually under, when you actually marry somebody comparable to yourself, or relationships get into one with so much similar interests because they're almost just like themselves? They said opposites attract.
Yeah.
Well, and the actual opposite of that, the same attracts, believe it or not. And it being dominant, no one wanting to actually look like they're lesser than, or them being actually a power couple, right?
Yeah.
How does a person, and I've got great people, man, people all over the world who are in both of those type of power type of positions like that. And so they are the over there, but they don't want to really be left alone at the same time, because they love the ability of being dependent on the next one, knowing that that person's strength is going to take up for them even when they can just relax.
Yeah. Well, that saying, opposites attract, That's a true saying. Opposites do attract. But what the research shows is that people who have more in common end up surviving, end up thriving in relationship. Like they last longer. And so what's happening when you see that opposite, because we are drawn to people subconsciously. So in our conscious mind, we see the opposites or we pick up the opposites, but it's our subconscious mind or unconscious mind that's picking your partners. And so unconsciously and subconsciously, even though you don't know it yet, you probably, if you're doing well and you're working well together, you probably, even in the beginning, had more in common than you both realized. Because when opposites attract and then you kind of get in there and there's really nothing to write home about or really not that much in common, those relationships tend, to fizzle out. With regards to overfunctioning and underfunctioning in a couple where they're both kind of A-type personalities and go-getters and on the ball, a lot of times what you see is you'll have both of them doing their own thing. They may have a project where they're working together on as well, but they're doing their own thing. The areas where they're working together, whether it's the family or if it's a third business that they're doing together or some project that they're doing together, what ends up happening if it ends up being where it's an overfunctioning is it's something that develops over time. Like marriage is a stew. And you know how when you make a soup, you can probably make a soup in about an hour or two. You're just throwing a bunch of stuff in water and cooking it together. Whereas with the stew, it's a bunch of stuff that you're putting together, but it's simmering, it's all day, it's thickening, it's richer, there's more flavor. Not that soups don't have flavor, but it's definitely a different experience. And so when you see two people that have a lot in common and two people that are very much alike in the same way, whereas one is overfunctioning and one is underfunctioning, that's a dynamic that for whatever reason has evolved over time and they weren't watching or paying attention. So the person that's underfunctioning may be underfunctioning in this particular area, but they're either functioning evenly, or they're both contributing in other areas or in their each individual business or whatever may be the case.
Well, I know a lot of people who are in business or they work together and maybe in the same spectrum, right? Where they turned around and they were able to get together, they built the relationship turned into a marriage because of that. Do you think that sometimes work or the job can actually be the bridge that connects them together, and an over and an under, right, at one point is based off a relationship off of just work wise rather than a relationship wise, than real love?
So are you asking if work can sometimes bring people together?
Correct. Even because of those personalities and because of those gifts and traits that one possess.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're working together and they're just kind of in tandem where their schedules are similar and they are having meetings and they're talking about what needs to be done. And it's in business, it's different from running a home. Like in running a home, people may have their duties and responsibilities, but if something isn't getting done, then another person might just pick it up without even, thinking about it or talking about it. But in business, a lot of times people will have meetings and discussions about what needs to happen. And all of that togetherness, if there is good communication, it can bring the couple together. So like when you're having different projects and you have different goals and different trajectories, then that can get in the way. Like my husband and I, we do check-ins on our relationship, marriage check-ins. And he shared the other day, we were at this Mexican restaurant having some dinner, and he was sharing that back when I first launched my book, it was just all about the book. Like I was like tunnel vision. I wasn't really thinking about like the house and he was taking care of it, but then I wasn't acknowledging, that he was taking care of it. And so, I reminded him that, like, when I do have a project, I do get that way. Like, I
Mhm.
do go all in, and it's just, super tunnel vision until it's done and I'm out on the other side. But this was the first time that I wasn't like really paying attention, to the house. And I think for me, it's because my oldest daughter, she's already married, gone, moved out the house. And the youngest one, she was 18 at the time. She's 19 now. She was 18, and she kind of has her own life. And so I wasn't really thinking about that. Like, whereas before I would kind of divide up my time. But what the conversation came to a conclusion with the understanding that sometimes, especially with us being, nearly empty nesters,
Mhm.
that might happen, because I know myself, I can be that way. And so what I asked him to do was, if he's feeling that way, to let me know in the middle of it,
Mhm.
so that I can go, oh, okay, well, I don't need to go to this event. I can just go home, or, maybe I can put something in a crock pot before I leave in the morning. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so I think that, like, communication is key. Like, in our relationship, I'm like the better communicator.
Yep.
He's
Which
grown.
most women are. Let's be real. Most
Yeah,
women
most women,
are.
yeah, most women,
Yeah.
because a lot of men, like, a lot of men want to avoid having an argument. And I think for him, he didn't want to complain about it, because he didn't want it to seem like he wasn't being supportive, and so, because he was, very supportive. And so we just talked that out, and next time there's a big project, I'll know. And if I forget, the agreement is that he would let me know.
Oh, wow.
So what was going on in that is, like, I'm thinking like we're like this, and
Yep.
he's feeling like we're like this.
Yes.
I mean, eventually we came back and we're cool, but I mean, I wasn't even aware of that at the time. So you have to, communicate and state what your needs are, whether you're the one working on a project or you're the one supporting the person working on the project.
Oh my God. You get that bell, that Lambo bell, Tracy. My goodness, so much heat right there. And I think that that is so much that you packed in. Let's go back though, just a little bit to marriage check-ins. And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know about marriage check-ins, relationship check-ins, or even check-ins, period, man, when it comes to loved ones, friends, and everything else of that. Let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that and why that is so important. Because when you say that, I was like, oh, that's a hot button, Tracy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
Well, marriage check-ins are important because your relationship is a system. Like, even in grad school, when I was learning to be a therapist, one of
Mhm.
the primary tools that we use is to view family as a system, and the
Mhm.
system is greater than the sum of its parts. Like, the sum of
Mm.
its parts is each person, and so sometimes parts can break,
Mhm.
like just on a car. Like, if you don't put in the oil, if you don't put in the water, or whatever else goes in cars, that's about,
Yeah. Yeah.
and gas, whatever else you need to check on in a car. So, like, your marriage is a system that needs check-in. And I always recommend, especially newly married couples, a weekly check-in. And I actually have a
Mm.
list that I give to them, and I can email it to you. I don't know, maybe I can pull it up on here, but
Yeah.
there's a list that I actually got the list from um our retreat at church. It was a marriage retreat at church, and I think the people that put the list together actually got it from this book called Marriage for Dummies. Remember that For Dummies series, like
Oh,
Excel for
yep,
Dummies,
yep,
Word for
yep.
Dummies, and it someone did a marriage for dummies, and I believe that checklist came from there. But basically, it starts with you name 5 reasons. You give your partner 5 reasons why they rocked last
Mm.
week.
What?
And, be specific, like, and the reason you want to do 5 is because the second step is you want to name one thing that could be different, you
Mm.
know. And so you started off with naming the 5 things. And when you first do this, it's going to be hard to name 5 things, not because your partner doesn't do 20 things in a week, but because our brains are designed to notice problems. Like, We
Mm.
don't notice the good unless we train our brains to
Wow.
notice the good.
Mm.
Because our brain, we have the prefrontal cortex, and then we have the amygdala that's back there, and the amygdala is scanning for safety,
Mm.
and fear, and is responsible for fear. And so if something isn't done, then the amygdala is like, look, right there, right there. And so what ends up happening is people start complaining and criticizing each other. And you could blame it on the brain because that's the way it's wired, but you can rewire your brain by using this marriage systems check. And if you're telling your partner 5 things every week that they've done right, I would say do it on the daily, but like little things that you notice, write it in your phone because you're not going to remember.
Yep.
But once you train yourself, you are going to remember. You are going to see it. And so you name those 5 things and then move on to the one thing that could be changed. And then other things on that list are, going over the calendar, going over any home or house repairs or car repairs that need any financial things, any discipline with the kids or anything with the kids. Like if you have teens and you have an issue, somebody's going off the rails, like talking about how you're going to handle that, who's going to parent what, and things like that. Hopes and dreams, your fears and frustrations, like what were your frustrations this week?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be each other. It could be frustrations at work, but like going through this list and having a talk, like when we do it, it could be like, I mean, if we go out for appetizers, like happy hour where you get the little sliders and stuff like that, we could be there for like an hour and a half to 2 hours just going through this list and talking. But what it does is it keeps stuff from piling up, like we sweep things under the rug because we don't want to be bothered, or it's too hot, or whatever the case might be, right? But it keeps things from piling up. And pretty soon what we've noticed is that a lot of times you won't even have a number 2 because it also helps you to address things in the moment. And because you are noticing your partner, and especially if you are stating things along the way, one little criticism, like you've been complimented 4 times this week already, and one little criticism is not gonna knock down your house, right?
Yep.
And so you just get into the habit of appreciating each other.
I think that what you're saying is so critical because if most of the time, if we're in relationships, if we actually took the time to be able to say, hey, you rocked out. Hey, you did an amazing job. Hey, you did this. The self-esteem of the other one, whether you're over or under, literally goes through the roof, right? Mm-hmm. But I love that because what that does is it holds, just in that check-in, it holds the accountability, right, on each other.
Yeah.
Where most of the time, Tracy, we're not holding that accountability to ourselves. We hold it to projects or we hold it to work-related incidents, but holding that to our partners, that's a whole nother different love language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's creating security. It's creating I don't want to use the word fortress, but kind of. I mean, because the world and all that's in the world can really come against what you have going on. And if you guys are a partner, if you're partners and you're rock solid and you feel appreciated and loved by your partner, when the arrows come, you guys are fortified. Like you have each other's back, and that you love one another, and that your partner has you covered, basically.
Yeah. I think that is so important because most of the time that you're just going through life, right? And you're going through just emotions itself. And then a lot of people get frustrated, right? Because there hasn't been that one who really says, you know what, I'm really behind you in this. Mm-hmm. Not just momentarily, or they pick and choose certain things. Mm-hmm. Do you think that most couples or some couples are out there feel that they pick and choose certain things to support and then certain things to point the finger at only because they're not willing to put the emotion or the strength in to really help that person get through?
Sometimes it can be that way. And I often find that that's the case if there's like resentment or bitterness built up. Because if resentment or bitterness is built up, first of all, it blinds you to the good that your partner is. And second of all, it makes you like not want to feed that side. And it's the person that's holding the resentment or bitternesses fault in this case, because you need to state what your grievances are. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's not like your partner's going to say, you have too many grievances, I'm out. And even if they did say that, it might be that's the road that you guys have traveled down, and that's the journey, that's part of your journey. I mean, hopefully if something like that were to happen, you would try to get therapy, together before calling it quits like that. But you really have nothing to lose. I mean, if you are married to someone that can't take criticism, and that has an excuse or a reason for everything, what you want to do is, what that person should do is go and get some therapy to see why. What is going on with that you can't take criticism? Because if what the person is saying is true and you absolutely cannot hear it, then, especially if other people are saying it as well, then
Yeah.
there's something off there.
Yeah.
Like some people, like I would be like that with regards to, like growing up, I hated false accusation.
Mm.
Like I hated dealing with that, and so what that made me do when I was older is I just couldn't hear it. Like I would eventually hear it, because I'm just, like I do want the truth. I do want to live in the truth, but that's just something that I want for myself. But it was really hard, like early in my adulthood, to be able to hear that. And even sometimes it can be that way too. And so for me, what I've learned to do is ask myself, well, what am I hearing? Like, what is this person actually saying?
Yep.
And then clarify that so that I can attend to that and not attend to whatever it is my mind is telling me that has nothing to do with whatever is on the table right now. And
Mm.
so like when you're kind of scattered like that, when you hear something and you get triggered and you go off into some area in your mind that has nothing to do with what was brought to the table, what the kind of partner you need is a partner that will ask you that. What do you understand about what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or what
Yeah.
did you just hear me say? So that they can clarify and help you to get back on track.
And I think that you bring a strong point to that, because I think if more people did that and were
Mhm.
able to help people get back on track, so many of the arguments and so many marriages or even relationships going their separate ways would actually be headed together, and then headed together in unison with each other, rather than it being so divided, right?
Well, yeah, that's the sickness and health, like if a person, has a flawed way of seeing
Mm.
things for whatever reason or in whatever situations and circumstances, it's the other person's vow, the sickness and health vow, to help that person to manage that and maybe have some understanding and get some self-understanding, whether it's through therapy, through reading, through talking to a pastoral counselor, or whatever the case may be.
Wow. I think that you're really hitting a lot of hot points in. You get that Lambo Bell, because I think that when most people are hearing this, they're actually now retaining this, and they're saying, you know what, I like that. I like her thought and her way of her actually saying that. That makes me reevaluate probably the way that they were doing some things. I love when PC says, I like that marriage check-in. That is huge. And I think that so many people, I mean, just adding this to your relationships, to
Yeah.
how you actually do marriage,
Mhm.
turns around and puts you into a better place. And I think that that's what most people truly decide they want to be in a better place. So
Mhm.
shout out to that. My cousin Errol says, I feel like working together can bring people together and push them apart. What are your thoughts, Tracy?
Absolutely. It can push them apart if there isn't good communication and if you're not planning your week. So like if Errol is talking about someone that works in the same office or works on the same business project or whatever. Yeah, I mean, because if tensions are running high, like if you have all your stressors and this person has all their stressors and they're not communicating and there's just conflict that's continuing to rise in one another and then conflict against each other, absolutely it can. And I think that if you decide to work with your partner, your life partner, um, try to evaluate what that looks like, because sometimes oil and water don't mix in the business setting. And so having a conversation and recognizing right off, like early on, what do we need to do to be able to be successful in this? And it might be that some things are delegated out. It might be that some things are contracted out, whereas the things that you're fighting over, you don't have to, because they become the responsibility of someone else instead of one or the other of you guys.
I love it. I love it. And I think that that's so key, her answering that question like she did, because so many times people don't know the answers to these questions and they're trying to figure it out. It's like, does that even sound right? I'm like, yeah, you'd be surprised of what an actual therapist who deals with this all the time really actually has the right answers and knows how to go ahead and bring healing to these situations. Shout out to you, Derek Baker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Derek says, I love this. Hey, we appreciate you and thank you. We love that. Errol says it could be running a restaurant or, like you said, in the same office.
Well, I think that the idea behind that is to remember that you're on the same team. And when you're fighting, and not fighting each other, but when you're, just know that whatever is the problem is the problem. Whether there's a problem in your restaurant or a problem in your office, keeping in mind that the problem is the problem and not each other. So you want to keep your swords drawn, whatever your swords are, and you want to fight back to back. Not having your swords drawn toward each other. So like if the budget is off, or you can't find an expense report, or the salmon wasn't delivered, or whatever, have a conversation about that problem and figure out what needs to be done. Or don't have a conversation with each other, but have that conversation with someone else that's a part of the business, if there's a third person or an employee or something like that. I know a lot of small businesses might be just the husband and wife or just the owners at first, but keeping in mind that whatever is the problem, that's the problem. Your partner is not the problem.
So you said something so powerful. How do you actually get the blade turned the opposite way, the way it's supposed to be intended? Having it back to back and making sure everything itself, you're able to defend that off, rather than actually putting that blade, that tongue, those words, or that harshness towards that partner, because they may see some lack of inconsistency of progress along their journey.
If you're already in the battle and the swords are already drawn on each other, it's going to have to take at least one person. Somebody's got to humble out first. Like somebody has got to say, pause. Oh, hold on a second.
Yep.
Hi.
Love this.
That was one of my therapists just came.
You're good. I love it.
But so someone has to say, wait, let's put a pause on this, because now we've ventured off into something that's doesn't have anything to do with what we first started talking about. And so if one person doesn't do that, the only way it's going to end is someone getting cussed out and then getting feelings hurt, or someone storming off, or something like that. Right. And so when you have your swords drawn, it's really hard, because again, the brain, like if you've gotten to the point where you're yelling and screaming, then your brain has been hijacked.
Yeah.
You're flooded with adrenaline, you're flooded with cortisol. And it's like, there's like almost, for some people, there's no way of coming back from that. You literally have to shut your mouth and sit down, take a breather, or, take a timeout. But if one of you has the strength to do that, call a timeout and say, let's stop this. Like, we're hurting each other. There's a line in one of John Mayer's songs that says something like, look at us up all night tearing our love apart. And that's what happens. Like, you're just tearing your love apart when really you wanted to talk about the finance report or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I love it because Julie says working together with your marriage partner does take a lot of check-ins.
Yeah, because when you're working together, there's two systems. You have your business system, and then you have your family system. And so you can combine them when you do the marriage check-in or the relationship check-in, whatever the case may be. And if you are in partnership with or business partnership with someone that's not your life partner, you still should do a check-in of some sort. You
Mm.
know, like some people wait for quarterly meetings or whatever, but there probably should be at least check-ins, even if it's 20 minutes, like every week.
Yeah. I think that that would solve so many problems and so many issues if these check-ins were like mandated. Like, you know what, we're on top of this, right? Because I think most people bring preconceived notions in their head, and they actually try to go on ahead, and I hate to say this, but they draw up conclusions or results
Yeah.
without even talking to the other individual. They've already drawn how they way that they want this to end up, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of times when we're drawing conclusions, we're passing whatever information we have in front of us right now through filters that we have experienced or filters that we have brought to the relationship. So like when you were saying earlier, what if I forgot how you phrased it, but you were saying, what if the person is either under functioning or doesn't bring it to the table often? Like you're getting upset because you're used to seeing the other person not carrying their weight, basically. And so if you're having a systems check every week, you can talk about that. Like you can talk, because whoever has whatever that the second thing on the marriage systems check whereby it's the one thing that could be better or could be different, if you change that, that could be one of the things that you rock about. And because you're having a conversation about it, most people aren't going to want to continue in the same pattern. Like we continue patterns most of the time because we don't talk about them, and allowing it to pile up and then exploding doesn't count. That's not talking about it. You have to talk about it when you see it or as you see it, because by the time you allow it to happen 10 times and then you explode, that's not a conversation. That's not communication. That's an argument. That's conflict,
And so there are certain people, like even when that buildup happens and then that explosion happens, there's certain people believe that they have seen from their perception, right? That's the way that their parents did it and their grandparents did it and the family did it. They waited till an explosion happens and then boom, it solves it. Like that's what we need, is a great type of explosion. And you're saying that is not really the healthy way to do things.
Because it probably didn't solve it. I mean, if it feels solved, then talk about how it is solved. Because I think what you'll find is that it's not solved. One person has decided to just keep doing what they've been doing, and the other person has decided to keep doing what they've been doing, or one or the other has decided that they're just going to ignore it. And it's the ignoring it that starts the cycle all over. It's kind of like there's this thing called the domestic violence wheel. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Maybe if I draw it on this. The domestic violence wheel goes like this. Okay. So you see that? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so the domestic violence wheel, like there's the honeymoon period. And I'm not saying honeymoon in your relationship. But don't think of this as domestic violence. Think of this as your usual conflicts. Because every couple has what we call perpetual problems. And a perpetual problem is a problem that's in the first year of your marriage, and it's likely going to be in the 33rd year of your marriage if you don't deal with it. And so with the perpetual problems, the honeymoon stage is just like they're not fighting about it. They're not talking about it. They might even be being really good friends and getting along and working well. And then somebody says something, somebody gets triggered, and then the tension starts to build. And it just builds and builds. And then the explosion, this word says explosion. Then the explosion happens, and then they enter into friendship again without ever having solved the problem. So what's the reason why this is not good is because the tension building gets longer, the explosion gets shorter, and the honeymoons get shorter. Like the tension building will start getting longer, and then explosions will come more and more often. And then the honeymoon, or the friendly parts around these particular conflicts, will get shorter and shorter until they just don't exist anymore. And that's when resentment and bitterness set in, because you're not even trying anymore. You're not even talking about it anymore. You're just kind of existing and choosing not to deal with this particular issue.
You have hit so many different layers right there, because I think that it's why a lot of people end up on like the first 48 or Snapped or one of these other places like that. Wow. Because of that tension build up and then the explosion.
Yeah.
And usually it's a decision that most people are making out of that moment, but it's been a buildup of time. And then they thought about all of these predicated notions inside of their head, and then boom, it just exploded, right?
Yeah.
So no one just never just, punches somebody in the mouth just for no reason, right? There has to be a buildup of why you're going to sock somebody in the mouth.
Yeah.
Because of they're irritating or really pushing a button towards you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people in marriage or at that point too, Tracy, where that will has shrunken. That honeymoon is actually like, oh, well, it's all for my life. And then people will have the notion, because the tension build up, as well as the explosions happening more in that cycle, where they're saying that, well, we're changing.
Yeah.
We're changing. We're two different people. Do you think that changes because them not dealing with the issues, and that person becomes differently than what they've seen them when they first seen them in a stage?
Yeah, you are changing, but you're not changing in a good way. You're hardening your heart. So you've gotten further away from who God created you to be, and you've gotten further away from who this other person first married, both of you. And so like that explosion, for some couples, it could be constant fighting, but that explosion could be like 6 months of not talking, where you're just existing and you're in the same house and you're not saying anything other than what is necessary, or you're staying away from the house as much as possible. You know what I mean? And so like, when people say, we've grown apart, or I've changed, or he's changed. Sure, you have, but it's like your heart has hardened, towards your partner, and it eventually will harden towards like other things, extend it out as well.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, y'all. Every time Tracy comes on here, she does it. And you always leave us on that cliffhanger wanting more, man. I truly thank you tonight, Tracy, for just really coming on here and really shining light to so many things and really helping so many people out here. We always are excited. We wait your turn, like every single time you get on the show, you come here and just literally these therapy talks just really go into a whole different dimension to help so many countless of other people out there. Tracy, tell everybody how they can go on ahead, get a hold of you, stay connected with you, and allow you to continue to keep pouring into their lives.
Okay. Well, you can find me on Instagram at Healing the Mind and Spirit for my practice. And then at Tracy Taris, also on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok, Tracy Taris, Taris. And you can join my email subscription list by going to my website, tracytaris.com, click the subscribe button, and subscribe to my email list. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter and that stuff, but I don't post a lot there, but I'm out there.
Oh, you know, I'm telling you what, I love it, because you saying that you're out there, and I'm seeing all of your videos and everything that you do. I'd be sitting there looking at you so much. I was like, go ahead, Tracy. Again, please go follow her on IG at Healing the Mind and Spirit. It's all one word. So it spaced it out like that. I don't know why I did that. But also follow her on Tracy Taris on all the other platforms as well. That will definitely go ahead and help you stay connected with Tracy and all the movements that she's doing and really being able to help pour into your life. And definitely, if you are ever in the area, please book a consultation with Tracy. Go see her at a practice. She can definitely help you out because I'm telling you, she does this each and every single time for us and helping us out in our journey. Tracy, we really want to thank you again for definitely always coming on the Leverage Show and really turning the Leverage Show into Therapy Talks with Tracy Taris. We truly thank you for your wisdom and your guidance again. Thank you so much, Tracy.
You're welcome, and it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy being here with everyone.
We enjoy you. You already know. And so that's the way we always going to keep it, man. Every time we come here, we always showing you love. Julie says, thank you for your wisdom and information with the wonderful praying hands. I love it. My cousin Errol says, I'm on your website now. Cute dog. Shout out to my definitely, man, for tapping in, man, with the wonderful dogs as well, man, and showing some love. Again, we cannot wait till Tracy gets back on the Leverage Show. She's always giving out amazing information. Yes, it is Good Talk PC. You already know. Love, 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 man, every time, man. She can't wait. Every time you come on, my sis PC be like, yo, Tracy's on, I'm on. So we're definitely here to help support Tracy. Again, go make sure you guys go order the products, order her books, order anything you possibly can. If you guys are ever in the area in California, go look Miss Tracy Taris up. Tell them that Lambo sent you, all right? Listen, guys, we love you guys. We thank you guys for another great edition of the Leverage Show. Continue to keep leveling you up and strengthening your family by any endeavors. Until next time, me and Tracy Taris, we are out of here. Bye.
Bye.
Why they even out there?